If your kid has a 4.0 GPA and just brought home an ACT score in the 20s when you were expecting a 32, this video is for you. I've coached hundreds of students who were in this exact situation. Most of the kids who come to me look exactly like yours. They're smart, they're hardworking, and they're doing everything right in school, but they're getting an ACT score that doesn't reflect any of that. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 specific reasons why your smart kid is tanking the ACT and the one shift that is gonna fix that gap. By the end, you'll know exactly what's actually happening and why more tutoring isn't gonna fix it, and we'll talk about what will actually fix it. Your kid isn't bombing the ACT because she's not smart enough. She's bombing it because she's a good high school student. The ACT and high school are like 2 completely different sports, and the skills that earned her that 4.0 GPA are some of the exact skills that the ACT punishes. There's a name for this. We call it the smart student trap. So I always think about everything in terms of sports, and the way I treat the ACT versus high school is like playing 2 different sports. Just because your kid might be, a great soccer player doesn't mean that your kid is going to walk onto the volleyball court and, be a good volleyball player. There will be some general athleticism that transfers from soccer over to volleyball. Your kid is still an athlete at the end of the day, but the sport specific skills are not going to translate. If you're moving from soccer over to volleyball, you're gonna have to learn the specific parts of volleyball, like serving and like jumping and all of that stuff. I don't play volleyball, so I don't know exactly, but there will be some things that she's gonna have to learn transitioning from soccer over to volleyball. It's the same thing with high school and the ACT. Most parents are assuming that just because their kid does really well in high school, that they'll also naturally do very well at the ACT, but the opposite is actually most often true. For a student to do well on the ACT, there are 2 things that student needs that aren't taught at all in high school. There's strategy and there's timing. Both of these are about how you take the test, not necessarily what's on the test. And there was a student named Ava who wasn't aware of these 2 differences between high school and the ACT. So Ava was a student who, she walked into the ACT with a 4.0 GPA. She was taking AP classes across the board. She was top of her class, the whole 9 yards of a picture perfect student who was supposed to do very well in the ACT. And when she sat down for the reading section of the ACT specifically, she felt like she was going to crush it. Her AP English literature class had her, annotating every passage they read, looking for the nuance, understanding the language, picking apart the tonality. The reading section should have been her wheelhouse. She was ready for it. But halfway through the reading section, she realized that those exact skills that were taught in her AP Lit class were actually holding her back. She was completely lost on the ACT reading. The clock was moving very quickly, and she was halfway through the test. She had finished 2 out of the 4 passages, and the proctor called out that she only had 5 minutes left. That was when she realized that her AP Lit class had led her down the entirely wrong path, and that she was going to absolutely tank this reading section. And she ended up with a score in the teens when she should have ended up with a score, up in the 30s on that reading section specifically. She walked out of that test and got a 22 overall. So the lesson from this is that high school doesn't teach you how to game a standardized test and the way that you need to. There's no strategy class that Ava took when she was prepping for the ACT. She took all of her English literature knowledge and she tried to apply it directly on the ACT, and that actually held her back because she was spending way too much time on each question and each passage. The reading section is a perfect example of the strategy and the timing. I mean, some kids do much better by skipping the passage entirely and going straight to the questions, and that's a good way to save time. But others actually do better by reading the full passage first. So there's no universal right answer here, but there is a specific correct answer for each specific student. And high school isn't going to teach you that, because a high school English literature teacher has to teach the exact same concepts to everybody, but the ACT is going to punish you if you only have a one-size-fits-all approach, and you've only and especially if you've never even thought about what your approach will be for the ACT reading section specifically. And so what Ava realized here is that she had actually been rewarded for being slow and methodical and doing everything by the book the entire time of her high school career. But the ACT, was like playing a completely different game. It was like moving from soccer over to volleyball, and she had no idea that she was playing a completely different sport. And this is actually exactly why, sometimes we see that students with like a 3.5 GPA who aren't necessarily crushing high school as much can actually do better on the ACT. It's because they haven't been trained as deeply on, the wrong way of doing things for the ACT. So they have less to unlearn. The 4.0 student actually has to, sometimes do a little bit of like deprogramming before, the right ACT strategies can come into play. So none of this is a knock on your student. It's actually a sign that, that they can do well with a specific system that they've studied and that they've practiced for. It's just that they have to apply that same work ethic and that same training to a different sport. Strategy and timing are just 2 out of the 3 pieces of it. The third thing is one that pretty much everybody misses entirely. And that's the fact that high school tests just 1 chapter at a time, whereas the ACT is testing everything from the first 3 years of high school all in one go. And so it's not that your kid doesn't understand the concepts or that they've never learned them before. It's that your kid has never been in a situation where they have needed to transition between, all of the concepts in the same test before. So there's a student named Mia who went through this exact process. And, Mia was the kid who looked absolutely unbeatable on paper, especially, specifically like for the ACT math section. She was in AP math classes. She was taking AP Calc and AP Stats, and she had crushed all of her math classes up until that point. She knew all of the geometry, all the algebra. She'd basically done everything. And she had even drilled both the timing and she had a good strategy. So, the 2 issues that caused the most problems that like Ava was running into, those weren't her problem. So basically, like on paper, you would have expected that she was going to get like a 33 or a 34 on the math section. But the first time that she sat down for the real ACT, she scored a 24 on math. It was 9 or 10 points lower than what you would expect for a student like that. And the reason is because, like I said, high school rewards depth on 1 subject at a time, whereas the ACT rewards understanding 3 years worth of math content all in one go. Basically, all throughout Mia's high school career, she had just been moving 1 chapter at a time on math. She might have studied very deeply on right triangles and then taken a test on the right triangle chapter. And then a month later, she was taking a test on circles and finding the area of a circle or whatever it may have been that she was studying at that point in time. And by the time she took the test on circles, triangles were completely out of her mind because she didn't need to know it. But on the ACT, they're throwing 30 or 40 different concepts at you in 50 or 60 minutes. And every single question, question 3 is going to look very different from question 4 versus question 5. And that's not something that high school had ever trained Mia for. And that's why Mia, as a straight A kid in honors and AP math classes, could still do very poorly relative to what she expected on the math section. The classes that she had taken taught the concepts, but it didn't teach her how to use those concepts, under pressure alongside 30 other types of questions that might show up. And it's the exact same thing across the ACT, whether it's the science section teaching you data interpretation, but then also testing something on temperature and, all the different things, or if it's English, testing subject-verb agreement questions and the grammar side, but then also testing something about style and tone at the same time. And so the reason why, Mia got into the math section and felt like she was, completely lost isn't because she wasn't a good math student. And it also even wasn't because she didn't have a timing or a strategy approach, but it was because nobody had ever asked her to use that information in the way that the ACT is asking her to use that information all at the same time. And so, the mistake that most families make here is that they just hire a math tutor to do better at math. They spend more hours on the individual concepts that a student already knows. And that's exactly what Mia did. She was thinking that in order to get her math score up, she needed to drill more math questions. But that's like making a soccer player practice and do more, shooting drills when the actual problem is that that soccer player has never actually played in a scrimmage or a real game before. If you're a soccer player and you're great at shooting and you've done all the shooting drills before, but you've never practiced, getting a pass from somebody else and then out dribbling the defender and then taking a shot on goal all in the same go, then you're not going to be able to transition well over to the game when that's what you actually have to do. And that's how we can approach the ACT a little bit differently than high school tests, because high school tests would be doing just more shooting drills and just doing well in that one narrow area without taking into account everything that's going to show up on the actual game. And so interestingly enough, Ava and Mia both had completely separate problems that were holding them back, but they actually had the same fix, the same solution for both of those situations. So you kind of have an understanding of what's happening here on the ACT. There's strategy, there's timing, and there's just the wide variety of content that you have to understand all in the same go. That's 3 specific things that the ACT needs you to have that high school doesn't teach you. And so the fix for these 3 things isn't more practice. It's not more knowledge. It's not a tutor. It's not taking more practice tests. The fix is what I call the drill method. And there's 2 parts to this. First off, there's a diagnostic. So your kid doesn't need to drill everything. What your kid needs to drill is the 5 or maybe 6 or 7 types of questions that are responsible for 80% or more of the points that your kid is missing on the ACT. It's the power law. There might be 20 types of questions that your kid is missing overall, but if only 5 of those types of questions are responsible for the vast majority of the points that we're actually losing out on, then we only need to spend time working on those 5 specific areas. And then we get into the actual drilling process. And so the way that you can actually improve on, say, those 5 types of questions is by picking the first one that you're going to work on first and drilling that concept until it becomes muscle memory. And so it's actually the same way that you would drill, one skill at a time in soccer, where you might drill, passing to your teammate, and you might, have a drill where you're just spending an hour working on passing and, leading your teammate to the right position, or whatever it is that they do in soccer. That's, one thing that you would work on. And that's that one type of question that you would build the right habits and the right muscle memory on, so that you can then focus on something else, but that muscle memory doesn't go away. That's the big problem with just how much content there is on the ACT. If you just, switch and try and, cover everything haphazardly, then, you're not going to actually build any muscle memory in one specific area. But if you do, build that muscle memory, it will stay with you a lot longer. And then you can drill, shooting, and, you've already locked down passing, and now you're going to work on shooting, and you're going to build that skill up. Just moving one at a time. And again, because you've taken a diagnostic and you know what your highest priority areas are, you can work through those a lot quicker and in a sequence that makes sense, for whatever the highest priority areas are. And so going back to exactly what this looked like for Ava with the reading section, we tested a couple different strategies at first. We tried out completely skipping the passage and just going to the questions first, versus reading the entire passage in depth and then trying to remember all of the information. And what we found with her after trying out a couple different things was that she actually went with a little bit of a hybrid approach, and she skimmed the passage first and then went to the questions, but then went back and forth between the questions and the passage looking for evidence. And because that was what was most comfortable for her, we started drilling it. And, we practiced this exact strategy again and again and again. And we actually put her under timing pressure. We had her practice with, the exact timing that, shows up on the reading section. And we actually saw her getting faster week by week by week. And so, 6 weeks of work for Ava, she was working very intensely. She was working an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours a day. She was able to build up that muscle memory very quickly on the reading section, and also obviously on the other sections as well. But that drilling process took her from a 22 overall on the ACT up to a 30, which earned her $88,000 in scholarships at her dream school of SMU. But the takeaway there is that once she unlearned some of her bad habits and focused on the right things that actually moved the needle for her, that was what got her a great result in a very short period of time. And so with Mia, it was a different problem, but it was the same fix. So what we did with her, we found that, it wasn't the content knowledge, it was just the switching back and forth between right triangles and statistics and then circles and so on and so forth. So we put together a couple drills for her where she, mixed and matched different question types, in the same worksheet, pulling from, 30 or 40 different topics all in the same go, so that she could understand how to move between different concepts all at the same time. And that was what built, the fluency between those different concepts that high school will just never, test you on. And so with Mia specifically, we actually separated out this math drilling process from her English and reading. So we spent 5 or so weeks knocking out English and reading so that we could do 4 weeks of just focused prep on this math section. And what that did is it allowed her to go from a 24 on the math section to a 33 on the math section. And her overall score went from a 25 to a 33 as well. That 33 earned her $60,000 in scholarships at Auburn, same scholarship at Louisville, and it actually earned her over $100,000 at Marquette. And these 2 students aren't really unique either. There are tons of students who have come in and done this exact process. I mean, Zach was a student who was a great GPA, started out with a 24 on the ACT, 12 weeks later ended up with a 31, which earned him $98,000 at his school that he went to. Ryder was another student who came in with a 24, and 10 weeks later, after using this drilling method, ended up with a 33. You know, all of these students came in, they all had slightly different problems, but at the end of the day, it was the smart student trap that they were falling into, and it was the drill method that got them out of this smart student trap. And so again, the reason why this works is because the ACT isn't necessarily measuring how smart your kid is. It's measuring how trained your kid is on one specific skill set. And so if you train that skill set, then the score will move up and it will match what their GPA tells you that that score should be. And one major mistake that I see a lot of families making is thinking that just taking more practice tests will fix this problem. But the thing is, practice tests are just measuring where your kid is. They're not going to change what your kid can do, and they're not going to increase your kid's ability to understand the right strategy. Drills are going to actually change, the skills and everything that your student actually needs. Practice tests is just like telling you, the same bad news again and again and again, whereas drills will actually change that bad news into good news. So if you're in the situation where your kid does incredibly well in high school, but just hasn't cracked these standardized tests, it's not because, your kid is lazy. It's not because your kid is just naturally bad at standardized tests. It's because she's been training for the wrong sport her entire life. And nobody's told her that she's been training for the wrong sport until right now. So you don't need to blame your kid, and you don't need to give them the excuse that they're just bad at standardized testing, because that's not right. It's just that they haven't necessarily trained for the right things. And once they do start training specifically for the ACT, then their score will improve and close that gap between the GPA and the ACT score. And that's how you can get out of the smart student trap. This is exactly what we do with all of our students in our ACT coaching program. So if you check out the first link in the description down below, you can book a call with me or my team, and we'll put together a plan for your kid to get a better ACT score, just like we did with Ava, with Mia, with Zach, and with Ryder, and with countless other students. And if you want to understand more about what's actually changing with the enhanced ACT, the brand new version of the test, then check out this video right here.